Welcome to today's Ask the Masters, and we're playing around with some different ideas and some different thoughts today. And so I'm joined today by JC Escudero, and we're going to talk this week about kind of what's new in the world of social media. So we all realize that, we all realize that Ask the Masters is the best page on the internet, but we also all realize that there are plenty of other pages out there that have fantastic comments too. And most of us, the Ask the Masters admins and moderators, most of us are on all of the other pages as well and looking around, and there's just interesting stuff that comes all across the different social media platforms. And so we wanted to kind of do a somewhat of a regular kind of come together and, hey, what have you seen on Ask the Masters, or what have you seen on pool related social media this week, and just kind of have some discussions about it. And we would love for this to be super interactive too. So down in the comments below, feel free to have some further discussions, and we'll kind of jump in and out as well. But we want to kind of look at what's caught our eye specifically across the different social media platforms this week. And then in the future, we're gonna make this a pretty regular piece. In the future, if you guys catch something that is rather interesting, you can send any one of us a direct message, or even send a message to Ask the Masters, and kind of point some things out to us. And if we find something interesting, we will kind of we'll highlight it on these shows. And so enough of me talking. Welcome in, JC, and good to have you back. How's it going?
Good. Everything is doing good. The weather has been changing, and as you can see, there's a lot more heat coming up. The summer is just hitting the first big wave of heat that we're hitting this week. And with that same heat wave, there was a lot of news and a lot of things that I kind of, bounced around and had some thoughts, and even discussed with Kevin the other day. Is these the post-COVID syndrome, and it's really everything after all that we went through, and now it's distribution who has problems, manufacturing has problems, raw materials missing, and it's across the board. It's not only our industry. I've seen it. I talk with also general contractors. They tell me that they can't get insulation. And we all know about, the explosion on the plants and the PVC shortage, chlorine. It's just nonstop. Yet you find within the community and within all the posts, a lot of, I say, good relationship and good friendship. People are getting close to each other, says, hey, I have this. Do you guys some valves? Do you guys have, I'm missing this part, missing the other part. And I get often, texts from other colleagues and friends going like, do you have this part? I know you're a Hayward guy, and stuff like that. And I don't know if you get the same, and as you saw in some of the forums.
Yeah, exactly. Matter of fact, just today we had we've been working with a landscape architect that we've worked with for many, many years. Actually, one of the first projects I ever did was with this landscape architect, and she's working with another pool contractor on a project right now, and they can't get material. And we just so happen to have client changed from a standard heater to a high efficiency heater, and we had already purchased the equipment, and we were getting ready to return it, and she happened to call, and everything's working out. And so it looks like I'm able to provide them a filter and a heater, and so of the 5 pieces of equipment that they weren't able to have, he's been able to source 2. I have 2, and so now he's just down to trying to source 1 piece of equipment. So yeah, I'm really definitely seeing the community as a whole come together, which to me has been a long time coming. The community, at least here in Southern California, I don't know if it is the same elsewhere in the country, there's always been this very much of a it's me against all the other pool builders, I've never found that to be super productive. With all of my years in Genesis and now with Watershape University and throughout the years, I mean, you and I are a perfect example. We build in the same marketplace, and I don't know if we've bid against each other, but I imagine over the years we have before we formed a relationship. And there's
Probably.
never been it's not like I don't want to give you information and you don't want to give me information. It's so I've never felt that need to be, anti-community. And so I think personally, I think that's a great development within our industry. And I think social media has really been helpful for that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And now what we were talking about, I shared and I put our page there on Facebook, just because we have also, questions and things that are recurrent. And I think one of the biggest, I should say, subjects or questions that we get recurrent, and this comes probably every 2 or 3 months, we get someone from the forum very interested about, I got a hydraulic problem, my basin is too small. You were actually commenting on it earlier. Those things once we go over and try to answer their questions as best as possible. And a lot of the times I explain people when they call me up on things, or they call me or they send me a private message, you go like, you got to understand, you give a little bit limitation of, understanding what's your question. You give me 2 sentences, and we all have our different opinions, and we all have also different experiences. The hydraulic part is just a hydraulic part, but it all depends on, how you're applying it.
Sure.
Water is water, and we're not going to change that. And it will rule always, the water levels and the surge basins and all that. And I think that's a great post that eventually we can probably dive in a little bit more, like you say, and get something that's really interesting that people can just go and look for it. And maybe we can just tell people, look at this podcast that we did, more hands-on.
Yep. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the search function within groups is really pretty good now. And so if you go right into the Ask the Masters page, you can't do it from your general screen. But if you actually log into the Ask the Masters page on Facebook, you can actually go in and then place a search and look for a specific topic or a keyword or whatever. And you can
Correct.
go through and find some of the previous stuff. There's so much good stuff in
And
there.
I don't know if you're seeing it, but that's exactly what I'm doing on the screen.
Sure. Yeah.
When I'm sharing the screen, you just go again. I'm going to do it again for the viewers. It's right here on the main page, the little magnifying glass. You type in your question, which
Or even just a keyword.
Yes, correct. So you go here, infinity. You click send, and you're going to get a lot of posts that we've been discussing over time that specifically talk about that. And
Yep.
one of the things that I tell everybody, just go to the podcast. It's probably already been discussed. And right in this search, as you can see on number 2 on the search, it's actually episode 13. Talking about infinity pools and tile and maybe other things, but the key word came along.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And the we're all on there pretty regularly. I mean, even though we're all super busy, it's one of the things that I think all of us really try and make a commitment is to kind of jumping in there, and whenever we have a spare 5 minutes or whatever, Rick or myself or you or Kevin Kobabe or Randy Beard, Paulo Benedetti, kind of everybody just really jumps in there, and we really try to give as much advice. Now, we can't always get deep into the weeds, and we're not necessarily going to design your entire thing, but we're going to give you real kind of overview reviews and kind of give you some principles that you can follow, so that we're not talking just specifically about this one particular project, but it's something for a learning experience for everybody.
Right, right. Yeah.
So what else? What's caught your eye this week in the world of pools?
Well, one of the things that, I'm always browsing on magazines as well, because, now you don't get a lot of them printed or subscriptions sent. So a lot of it is online. So every now and then when I got a minute, uh, or like most of you, the weekend or at night or a moment of relaxing or waiting for an inspector, I'll just try to get some of that, input and see what's new. And there's a lot of innovation on products and things, but one of the things that relates all these new products, and I think it's in relation of also all the posts we have from a lot of people talking about sanitation options due to the COVID and to the, again, all the chlorine shortage and so on and so forth. You have all these other people that are interested in, okay, what do I do if I'm not going to get tablets? What are my options? So I've seen a lot of that also being discussed on the forums. People are getting truckloads of salt, and they're doing a lot of transitions to salt, and that's okay for their application. And if that resolves the problem, and they can keep a happy customer. And I think just like us in the industry, we're getting not only as builders, any great increase, maybe 30. I'm almost tempted to say it's going to be almost a 40% by the end of the year on construction. The service side of the industry has got a boom extremely, and I see a lot of guys that are even on the service side of the industry having, from they used to service 45 pools, now they're serving 70 pools. How did that happen? And it's just more people want to get their backyard up in shape, up ready. People are not traveling, so they need that safe environment in their home, and that they have somewhat the money. A lot of people were not able to spend it out in other leisures, going to restaurants or traveling, etc. So we have that in the forums. It's been also a huge part of conversations, is what do I do if I don't get tabs?
Sure. And I think this is it's a great opportunity to start introducing AOP and ozone and some different
Right.
options. And, the clients, everybody watches the news, and I think CNN even had a piece about chlorine shortages and that. And
Right.
so when the pool industry, we're such this tiny little industry, when we're actually making it into national news, with some of the things going on, the general public is paying attention and they understand these things. And so it's a great opportunity to start to present some of these different options. And I think people are much more open to it right now. Now, you have to manage the expectation because you probably can't get the parts, but at least you can have the discussions, and maybe you can close a couple more deals than you would have, in 2018 or 2019, because people are just, their awareness is opening up. And it's like out here in LA when there's a big power outage or whatever, generator sales go up and different things like that. So there's definitely an opportunity to increase your bottom line and to present things to clients that they're probably a lot more open to discussing than they would have been in years past.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely also some of the other things that have come to mind when I'm looking at some of these articles and also on the forums is also, a couple bad business decisions, couple pool companies, especially one, Olympus, has went through,
Yeah.
in the Panhandle area, that has left, a lot of pools open. And we've seen that in many regions all over the country. It happens in Arizona, it happens in New Mexico. We know it happens here a lot in California. It's just the preparedness and the readiness, the work that needs to be in the back office. And I know this is an ugly one right behind me, but it's my trench. It's where everything's happening, and we have to be very careful always to, not only advise our clients, but making sure that, look, I want to be competitive, but I can't just be too competitive by risking my operation.
Sure.
And your lower quality, we all know when the price goes down, and it's not a now, it's unfortunately for homeowners, it's not a buyer's time. So they have to also understand that materials, plywood, we all know everything's been up. I just put gas yesterday. I think I paid $4.92.
Yeah, I paid $4.89 yesterday. Yeah, it's crazy.
So these are numbers that we haven't seen in a long time. Yet there's some, non-stability around in some of these suppliers and chains of supply that it's been affecting. And I get calls all the time. Hey, can I buy you from you equipment? I go like, yeah, I wish I had it. I'll sell it to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Fortunately, we've been fortunate here in that most of our projects are real big, and so we can project long term. And so I actually knew what was coming for the rest of the year, and I have out in my warehouse here, I probably have $100,000 worth of equipment, and I just went to as soon as the Texas freeze happened, I went to my clients and said, hey, there's a shortcoming upcoming, and it's going to be really hard to get equipment soon. Let's buy your equipment now. And even, we had some jobs that were just in the steel phase, and but we knew that we were going to be, needing equipment late summer. And so we went ahead and pre-purchased most of the equipment that we needed for at least 6 to 9 months, just to sort of get ahead of it. And boy, I can't tell you, how happy that's making me to have that all sitting out there right now. I'm not having to lose sleep over that.
Yes. I have a couple of pools with no lights. It's not funny, but we'll get those pulled in as soon as we receive them. It's just the way it goes.
Sure. Yep. So looks like you've got a couple of tabs up there. Let's open a couple of those tabs and kind of talk through what you found interesting this week.
Yeah, well, I found a couple little articles. One of them here in Aqua, with new products, and we're always looking for innovation. And I found a company that is doing really nice scoopers. So coming down to it, it's not really, something we like to do publicity, but I think based on the pictures, they look like really good products, really nice products. And I was looking for that because I have a client of mine that has some of these going in one of his projects. So there's this here is a really nice scoopers that they make out of rubbed oil bronze and distressed copper. So they really looked at it. It's really nice. And I looked into that. Also, one of the things that I looked into the magazine, it's also a great article about, let me pull it up here real quick. Where is it? Maybe it was another magazine. You see, we got so many stuff, but there's one here that, it never gets old. And let me see if I pull it up. If some of you will recognize this, the pool that.
Oh yeah, that's Skip's real famous pool, Skip Phillips.
Correct. Yeah, always every time I see it, I can hear Skip talking to me and explaining, his vanishing edge detail that he does on his classes. So it's another article that it comes and they emphasize in the designing the project properly. And I think that's one thing that our industry is finally getting it, is finally doing their homework. Not only the use of the softwares are much better now. There's there's a lot more quality into the actual footprint of the equipment and things on that sort that, back in the day was literally non-existent. Homeowner had no idea how big the equipment was until just boxes and boxes showed up on the driveway. And you and I know equipment was larger back then. So it was sort of deceiving. Now having all those tools, I think helps tremendously. So that was one nice article that I drove through.
Well, and before you move past that, I just want to
Yeah,
bring up, you talk about design and you talk about, that article in particular, every pool should be a water feature. And I think that's one of the things that I'm excited about. Right now is that Watershape University, they have been, a lot of super technical classes on, business structure and hydraulics and proper construction techniques and that. But just, we're just about to announce here the very first elements, the principal, their first design class. It is Essential Pool Design, I think is the name of it. I'm butchering the name, but that's launching here any day. Matter of fact, I think it might even be available, but that's coming out here pretty quick. And we actually did about a 20 or 30-minute interview with Kurt Krasinger, who's the instructor for that class. And so watch for that video. It's either already out or it's going to be out any day now. And that's really, it's one of the things that I'm really appreciating about Watershape University as well, is that they're starting to bring into design discussions as well. It's not just all about the technical stuff. You and me can get into the weeds on, on a debate about whether we should have a 3-inch pipe or a 2.5-inch pipe. And you and I enjoy that, but frankly, a homeowner doesn't really care. They just want something that's going to look good. Yes. And so, learning some of the design elements and the design principles to make the vessels look, just that little bit better to differentiate yourself, I think is so important. And it's great to see formal classes with that coming out now.
Yeah, so critical. And on that note, as you say, water in transit, there's an article that came out as well from Watershapes about Disney. I don't know if you had time to read it.
I did not.
Really, will let everybody know why there's no mosquitoes in Disney World. We all know there's an extreme amount of mosquitoes, and everybody in Florida at SeaWorld, Disney World, in general, there's so much humidity. It's always breeding ground. So everybody knows that all year round you have bugs and mosquitoes. And despite all that, this article explains real well what was the vision of Disney himself from Walt when he met, a post-war veteran that wanted to mitigate mosquitoes when they were out in the jungle, which was a similar condition. And I really enjoyed this article very much. And it talks about the solution. It was not pesticides or not getting any of that. It was just water in transit.
Wow.
That's all there is. And if anybody has time to read it, it's an awesome little article. It has a lot of ins and outs that you can actually incorporate in your projects. That way you can mitigate that whenever you have that. Even when in dry areas like ours or the southern areas in the desert, we do get a few months of the year that it's really humid, and we have a lot of breeding grounds, and people are not aware of that stagnating water, how it affects it.
Sure. And the other interesting thing through some of my design classes that I learned is that, so you've got this whole water in transit situation for very humid environments. But then the flip side happens as well. Water has been introduced into living spaces for generations, for millennia, actually. I mean, the
Yeah.
Moors used it in order to actually introduce some humidity, and they used water in transit in like courtyards within, the inner courtyards of homes, in order to introduce some humidity, to actually bring the temperature of the living space down. So, water it's a really incredible medium that we can utilize in different spaces. So you think of an area like Phoenix, you're never going to, raise the humidity significantly in Phoenix, but by
Right.
introducing water into strategically into spaces, you can actually have the tendency to cool that space ever so slightly. But then you also have the psychological effect, talking about some of the blue mind type
Yes.
things, where you're really, uh, you're psychologically, your body just calms down by being closer to water. So, some of that is always real intriguing to think about and learn about.
Yes. Well, it's a couple of the things that I saw this week that were very interesting, and I thought I'll share with you and with all
Sure.
our forum and viewers and friends that we have on our Facebook page.
Yeah, let's talk real quick about just this second article right here, the highly transpicious.
That is
I have
something,
not had a
right?
chance. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read that article, but boy, that's something else. And I know the guys over at Pool Magazine, I believe they talked to the designers and engineer on that as well. And
Right.
I mean, that's the amount of engineering that has to go into an acrylic pool is, I mean, that's in and of itself pretty crazy. But then to be putting one of these pools in between two buildings, what you may or may not realize is that buildings move and they sway,
Right.
and so the
Especially on
ability
windy
to,
condition too.
well, exactly. And so, that pool has to be able to compensate for, differential movement between buildings. So, that's real intriguing. I really am looking forward to kind of digging in, and the
Yeah.
nerd in me really wants to figure out some of how they made that work, because that just seems, it
Yeah.
seems ambitious to me, but obviously they've pulled it off.
Yeah. One of the things that I was looking at, it's also this floating pool water, which
Sure.
has been in the forums discussed a lot. Hey, look at this! It's amazing. Well, yeah, it's probably going to be a lot of things going on there. And it's in New York, I believe so. This river, as
Yeah.
it says there, and
Yeah,
this is
which
a
which
great
nobody even
article
wants
too.
to swim in because it's so hideously dirty.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah. Yeah, and again, another thing that I'm looking forward to kind of digging into and learning a little bit more about, because they're actually filtering the water from the river and making it to a state where it's going to be clean enough to swim in. That just
biodegradating.
seems, yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's an intriguing concept in and of itself too.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I see coming up on the forum is a lot of manufacturers, a lot of other um suppliers are preparing for Dallas show.
Yeah.
That's something that it's coming up also. I am actually doing reservations and everything, to try to book and have all the airlines and everything ready, because everybody's going to start traveling as well. So
Yeah, and we haven't really. I don't think we've announced it, but we can announce it here.
okay,
So, Ask the Masters and the Pool Pro podcast, we will be having a table at the show, and so we will be located. I don't have the exact location yet. I don't think they've finalized the map, but we
yeah,
are going to have. All of us are going to be there, and so we're going to be right directly across from the Watershape University Pavilion. And they've got a nice big booth for Watershape University, and so we're going to be located just right across the aisle from them. But yeah, we're super excited to kind of get to know everybody
yeah,
and meet all of our listeners and interact a little bit more.
yeah, that would
It
be so
looks
cool.
like. Yeah, exactly. Um, we have at least one Ask the Masters Tour event that's going to be happening. It's going to be happening before the show. We're going to be doing um, a field trip, a couple miles. I think it's 2 miles away from the convention center.
Right?
There is a movable floor system going in. It's actually being finalized right now as we speak. It's being commissioned, and so by the time we get to Dallas in November, it will be fully operational. And
That's
that,
so cool.
and so. Yeah. So we're going to actually have an on-site live event with Twinscape and with all the executives there walking us through the system. We're going to have the mechanical spaces open so that you can kind of understand, you can see the system moving. And I know for me, before I built my first system, I flew up to the Bay Area, and Paolo Benedetti had a couple of jobs. One was already completed, and one was in construction. And
Mhm.
so I spent the day up there touring the different jobs. I know I need to kind of see and understand and
Yes.
touch and feel everything
Yeah.
to really grasp it. And so this is going to be just an amazing opportunity to actually see one of these in person and kind of understand the technology. So we're real excited about that. I'm working on another event. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull a second event off, but if we are, we will definitely let you guys know about
Yeah.
that too. But for
And
sure, we have one event, and like I said, we're going to have a booth at the show. So make sure you come by and say hi to all of us. We'd love to see you.
the one thing I can tell everyone that are going to be listening to us on this podcast and this conversation is, as you see, is very casual. But I want to tell you, every Ask the Masters lifestyle event that it's been done, it's been a tremendous success. It's a lot of people have just went and learned so much. I just remember from the top of my head the one in Phoenix, about tile with Laticrete and wet edge, and these people bring to the table so much information and so much experience that we can take in a class without being, anything extravagant. And also as well, San Diego, that was amazing to go into the back room and the engine and look at all the pumps and how all that water is being filtered for SeaWorld. It's just crazy.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I
And
really recommend, as soon as you'll announce a date, that people sign up for that, because it's going to be a limited space as well.
for sure, because it is a small space and it's definitely going to be limited. It will sell out, absolutely. And so, for those of you planning, it looks like that is going to be Sunday evening, either Sunday evening or Monday. I can tell you, it
All right.
is going to be. Um, it is going to be. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me here.
That's all good.
It is going to be Sunday evening, the 14th. So I'm not sure. So the show kicks off on Tuesday. So it'll be 2 days prior. And if we do a second Ask the Masters event, we're trying to slate that in for Monday. And so, if you guys are even considering that, we're working on doing a Sunday evening event. That one's confirmed for the
Right.
movable floor. And then Monday, you'll either have a day to kind of tour around Dallas and do whatever before the show kicks off on Tuesday, or we are working on a second event that would happen on Monday. So
Right.
stay tuned for that information. But yeah, before as we kind of sign out, I was actually just on the phone with Steve Gutai,
Yes.
and that's the reason why I was late. I'm not, obviously the podcast comes out when it comes out, but you and I were scheduled to be on a little bit earlier. But I was talking with
Yes.
Jandy kind of floating the idea with them about doing an event similar to what you just pulled off. So kind of tell everybody what just happened. I mean, if you followed along the page,
Yeah,
you saw kind of us teasing a little bit about the Hayward event that we just went
exactly.
off. And yeah, kind of tell everybody about it. And we're in the middle of editing all of those videos
Yes.
and getting that ready for distribution. But
Yeah.
kind of give everybody a synopsis of what we did, because
Yes.
we got a ton of
Absolutely.
content on that day.
There was a lot of content, exactly. So one of the things that most of you don't know, and obviously it's a little hard for us in the in the back room trying to pull material and then record more stuff and everything since the pandemic, and we couldn't get to uh, to the studio and things on that sort, and see each other face to face and do a little less Zoom and more hands-on. And the hands-on training, I think it's always been missing a little bit. So Dave came with this idea, and I sort of dived into it, and I proposed it to do it and do a whole series of more hands-on training, how to connect, how to do this, how to program, and also introduce new products and new devices and new things that we'll do. This one is just about all the new stuff and the new line that Hayward is pulling, but it's very educational. We have a lot of material that has been edited, as Dave said, and it's going to talk about all the programming, the new pumps, also after June 26th, all the WAF regulations for energy and all that efficiency, how to communicate the heater and things of that sort. We're also introducing the new heater from Hayward, the smallest footprint in the industry, and things on that sort. We'll dive into in a mini series of podcasts, like Dave said. It's going to be so exciting. We have also Dave Rockwell that joined us that day, and he did an excellent interview about automation on sanitation, all that AOP and different systems. So there you go.
Yeah, and it's not just what I appreciated about it is it wasn't a here, like your standard when you go to a show and you walk out on the show floor and, oh, here's the shiny new object and here's the shiny new object. You guys really got into the weeds a little bit, and hey, yeah, here's the new heater, but here's how we're going to make it, here's how it connects to the OmniLogic, and here's, you got a lot more hands-on, and so I think it's going to be, a real powerful series and going to be
Yes,
real relevant to those in the field. It's not
exactly.
just it's not an infomercial showing all of Hayward's new products. It's more
Exactly.
of, here's the new product and here's how you should apply it, and
Yes.
here's how some of the tips and tricks. So I'm really looking forward to all of that, and we're working to kind of generate that kind of real world content. So
Right.
that's upcoming. The Hayward series. I think I was just looking. I think we got 10 or 12 different episodes
Yes.
that are going to come out of that, which is, that's an amazing amount of content. So you can look for us to be distributing that over the next couple of months as we get
Exactly.
those all edited and that.
Yeah.
So,
And
and I'm going to
literally,
throw all of the, I may have birthed the idea, but I spent all of 12 seconds on it. You deserve all the credit because you made all of the arrangements, and so kudos to you for
thank
pulling
you.
that whole thing off, because it was more than just a phone call or two. I mean, it was a pretty significant event, and you really did a bang up job and pulled it off, and it's going to create a lot of useful content for the community.
Thank you. And I hope a lot of questions will come out of that, because that's the intention. The more questions, the more forum, the more we can populate, our page with answers for everyone in the industry that is looking for an answer, that doesn't have a physical manual, or doesn't have, or is in the field and is trying to get something resolved. I think that will be tremendous help. And
Yeah.
like you said, we had a lot of coordinating, a lot of things, but I think it's just the beginning of another path for the trainings that we can do, as you will say also. And we started also the Spanish translation a little bit on a couple of the posts. This also has been kind of roaming my head for a very, very long time, And there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of members in the forum that not only that are speaking Spanish and live here in the United States. We have a lot of followers that are down in South America, down in Mexico, down in Costa Rica. I know I spoke to John one time, and he says, yeah, there's a lot more information that we can start dripping down into, like you say, the trenches, and everybody to get everybody into a better education and know more knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to coming out of COVID and being able to kind of explore some of these other avenues as well. It's been my vision to do something Spanish language, even though I don't habla español. It's about the extent of my Spanish language abilities. But it's, so many of my crew, it's the primary language that they're speaking at home. And at least here in the Southwest, the boots on the ground, the guys that are in the field, most of them are primarily Spanish speakers.
Yes.
And, as much as I think that, I am able to tell my guys and fully explain to my guys all the theory and all the reasons why we do things.
Right.
There is some sort of things get lost in translation, and that's not because it's English Spanish. Things will get lost in translation between an English speaker and an English speaker as well.
Yes.
It's so having the ability to have these folks who speak Spanish be able to learn in their own native language, I think it's an amazing thing. And I'm so thankful that you are willing to kind of step up. And we've got, I think, 7 or 8 of these upcoming that we're going to be translating. Some of the best of the best over the last couple of years of our page. You've been working through and working on the translation. So by all means, if you guys have workers or coworkers or know people in the industry that could benefit, even if they're not primarily English speakers, have them come, because on Thursdays we're launching a new Spanish translation of everything, and I'd really love to see that kind of grow into having some downline conversations in Spanish that I'll have to call you and say on Friday and say, hey, what the heck is going on there? Because there's all this conversation in Spanish and I'm not following it.
And not only that, but as you mentioned, it's really important for others to also give us subjects. Anyone that is looking, it takes our brain to find things that we think it's interesting for you guys. You guys need to please reach at us, send us a message and tell us, hey, talk about this. I want to learn about that. Why is this? Why is that? Please send our questions. We need you the same way they need us for more information, education, and just to bring our industry to a better standard.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you guys have heard me preach it many, many times. Nobody's making money here. This is not a, hey, look at Dave and JC and let me make myself look better within the industry. This is all about just bringing our entire industry up and trying to raise the bar for the entire industry so that we can all be more professionalized. And, we've got our eyes on the industry and we're pretty well connected and we're looking around and noticing things. But a lot of us are located out here in California, and we may not necessarily see some of the challenges that are in other parts of the country. So if there's things that you want us to cover and that you don't see that we're covering, definitely let us know, either in the comments below here, or you can always private message us on Facebook or wherever, and we'll really, we have no problem catering this to you guys, because that's really what this is all about. This is about your guys' agenda and not our agenda.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, I think we covered most of the initial conversation. This is a great chat, and we get to do this often. That'd be great.
Yep. Yep. And these will be a little bit more raw than what you're maybe used to. We're not really going to spend a whole lot of time editing these. It's going to be just kind of a, a chat discussion. Hey, what's caught our eye this week or this past couple of weeks on Facebook or on, in the whole world of pools. So thanks for joining me for this very first one, JC.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Signing off, and let us know what you want us to talk about. Shoot us some articles that have piqued your interest, and some questions that you want to ask as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.